The scream still echoes in my ears, mixed with the sickening crunch of bone on tile. Pink champagne sprayed like crimson rain, clinging to the pastel dresses, a grotesque mockery of the celebration. They stood frozen, a tableau of horror and disbelief, but beneath the shock, I saw a flicker of satisfaction in my sister's eyes. That was the moment I understood. The moment I stopped screaming, stopped begging, stopped hopping. The day they betrayed me was the day Olivia was gone, and something else entirely took her place. If you have a sister, a brother, a family member who would stand by you no matter what, subscribe now and never let them go. The engagement party was everything I had dreaded, and everything my sister Emily had ever dreamed of. A sprawling estate in the Hamptons, a string quartet butchering pop songs, and enough champagne to float a small yacht. The dress code, naturally, was pastel perfection, and I, ever the dutiful sister, had squeezed myself into a lilac monstrosity that itched in all the wrong places. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, a celebration of Emily's impending nuptials to the disgustingly wealthy, but undeniably handsome Charles. I tried to smile, to offer genuine congratulations, but the truth was a lead weight in my stomach. I'd always known Emily was competitive, let's say, but her ambition had taken a darker turn lately, fueled by Charles's endless bank account and her unwavering belief that she deserved it all. I navigated the manicured lawns in my wheelchair, a prop in their perfect fairy tale, feeling increasingly like an unwelcome guest. It had only been 6 months since the accident, a senseless car crash that had stolen the use of my legs and shattered my life into a million pieces. Emily had been supportive at first, smothering me with pity and offers of help. But as the weeks turned into months, her sympathy had curdled into something else, a thinly veiled resentment, a constant reminder that my broken body was an inconvenience, a stain on her meticulously curated life. I overheard snippets of conversations, whispers that followed me like a shadow. Poor Olivia, such a tragedy. It's just so difficult for Emily, having to deal with all of this. She's so strong, putting on a brave face. They spoke of me as if I wasn't there, as if my life was simply a burden for my sister to bear. The truth was, I was trying. I was fighting to regain some semblance of normalcy, to rebuild my life from the wreckage. But Emily didn't want me to recover. My vulnerability was her advantage, my weakness her strength. She reveled in the attention, basking in the glow of sympathy while simultaneously pushing me further into the shadows. The champagne flowed freely, loosening tongues and blurring inhibitions. Emily, flushed with excitement and several glasses of bubbly, cornered me near the tiered cake, a confectionery masterpiece that probably cost more than my car. "Olivia, darling," she slurred, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Aren't you just thrilled for me?" I forced a smile. "Of course, Emily, I'm so happy for you." "Are you really?" She leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. "Or are you just enjoying all the attention?" "Playing the tragic victim," I recoiled, shocked by her venom. "What are you talking about? Don't play innocent with me, Olivia. You know exactly what I'm talking about. This whole wheelchair-bound angel act is getting old. It's my engagement party, not your pity party." Before I could respond, she grabbed the handles of my wheelchair. My heart lurched. "Stop faking for attention." She hissed, and with a cruel, deliberate shove, she sent me tumbling forward, the wheelchair tipping, my body crashing onto the unforgiving tile floor. The person I trusted most was one of them. The world exploded in a kaleidoscope of pain. My head slammed against the cold tiles, the sickening crunch echoing in the sudden silence. The champagne, once a symbol of celebration, now felt like sticky, crimson rain against my skin. I lay there stunned, the breath knocked out of me, staring up at the horrified faces above. But amidst the shock and concern, I saw a flicker of something akin to satisfaction in Emily's eyes. A cold, calculating glint that confirmed my worst fears. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. This was her way of silencing me, of eliminating the competition, of ensuring her own happiness at my expense. That was the moment something inside me shifted. The moment Olivia, the forgiving, understanding sister, ceased to exist. A new entity took her place, one fueled by rage, betrayal, and an unyielding thirst for justice. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply closed my eyes, allowing the pain to wash over me, hardening my resolve with each passing second. They helped me up, of course, their faces etched with concern. Emily, ever the master of manipulation, sobbed dramatically, apologizing profusely, claiming it was a terrible accident, blaming the champagne, the crowd, anything but her own malice. Charles, looking genuinely disturbed, hovered nearby, offering platitudes and empty reassurances. I accepted their apologies with a blank stare, offering no resistance as they fussed over me, their guilt a tangible presence in the air. Inside, however, a storm was brewing. The pain in my legs was nothing compared to the ache in my heart, the burning desire to make them pay for what they had done. The weeks that followed were a blur of physical therapy, doctor's appointments, and forced smiles. Emily, seemingly consumed by guilt, became my constant companion, showering me with attention and assistance. But her efforts felt hollow, insincere, a performance designed to appease her conscience and maintain appearances. I played along, of course, feigning forgiveness, accepting her help with a grateful smile, all the while meticulously plotting my revenge. Sleep became a luxury I could no longer afford. Night after night, I lay awake, replaying the scene in my mind, dissecting every detail, searching for weaknesses, vulnerabilities, anything I could use against them. The weight of injustice pressed down on me, suffocating me, fueling my obsession. I tried to confide in my friends, to seek solace in their understanding, but their words of comfort felt empty, inadequate. They couldn't possibly comprehend the depth of my betrayal, the chilling realization that the person I trusted most was capable of such cruelty. I was alone in this, adrift in a sea of resentment, with only my burning desire for retribution to guide me. I attempted to reason with Emily, to confront her with the truth, but she vehemently denied any wrongdoing, gaslighting me with practiced ease. She twisted the narrative, portraying herself as the victim, claiming that I was imagining things, that my trauma had warped my perception. Her lies were so convincing, so expertly crafted, that I almost began to doubt myself. Almost. But the memory of that flicker of satisfaction in her eyes, the cold, calculating glint that betrayed her true intentions, kept me grounded, reminding me of the truth. As the wedding day approached, the pressure mounted. Emily became increasingly demanding, her anxiety manifesting in a flurry of frantic preparations and petty arguments. She micromanaged every detail, from the floral arrangements to the seating chart, her obsession with perfection bordering on mania. Charles, seemingly oblivious to the undercurrent of tension, remained blissfully unaware, content to bask in the glow of his impending nuptials. I watched them, studied them, observing their every move, searching for the chink in their armor, the weakness in their facade. And slowly, painstakingly, a plan began to form. A plan so audacious, so intricate, that it would either destroy them completely or consume me in the process. I knew the risks were immense, but the alternative, to simply accept their betrayal and fade into oblivion, was unthinkable. I started documenting everything. Every conversation, every interaction, every subtle gesture that revealed their true nature. I became a silent observer, a ghost in their perfect world, gathering evidence, building my case, preparing for the moment when I would finally expose them for who they truly were. I knew that I had to be patient, that I couldn't rush things. My revenge had to be precise, calculated, and utterly devastating. The thought of confronting them directly, of unleashing my fury in a torrent of accusations, was tempting. But I knew that would be a mistake. They would simply deny everything, dismiss me as hysterical, and continue on their merry way. No, my revenge had to be subtle, insidious, a slow burn that would unravel their lives from the inside out. And it had to be public. They cared so much about their image, about maintaining the illusion of perfection. I would use that against them. I would expose their lies, their deceit, their cruelty for the whole world to see. Their biggest vulnerability, their reputation. The wedding invitations arrived, crisp white cardstock embossed with gold lettering, a cruel reminder of my impending humiliation. Emily made a show of personally delivering mine, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of triumph and thinly veiled guilt. "I really hope you can make it, Olivia," she said, her voice dripping with false sincerity. "It wouldn't be the same without you." I accepted the invitation with a forced smile, my fingers itching to tear it to shreds. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, Emily," I replied, my voice laced with a venom she couldn't detect. As she turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirror, her lips curled into a self-satisfied smirk. That was the final straw. The moment I knew I couldn't let her get away with it. The weight of their betrayal threatened to suffocate me, plunging me into a darkness I had never known. I spent days in my room, curtains drawn, the world outside a distant hum. Food lost its taste, sleep became a battlefield of nightmares, and the once vibrant colors of my life faded into a monochrome gray. I was drowning in self-pity, consumed by anger, paralyzed by fear. Emily, sensing my descent, intensified her efforts to control me, smothering me with unwanted attention, isolating me from my friends, slowly but surely erasing my identity. I felt like a puppet, my strings controlled by her, my every move dictated by her whims. One evening, as I sat staring blankly at the television screen, a news report flickered across the screen, detailing the downfall of a prominent businessman, exposed for fraud and corruption. His empire crumbled overnight, his reputation tarnished beyond repair, his life in ruins. As I watched his tearful apology, a spark ignited within me. It wasn't pity I felt, but a strange sense of kinship, a shared understanding of the devastating power of public exposure. That night, I wheeled myself into the garage, the air thick with the scent of gasoline and old tires. I stared at my car, the mangled wreckage that had stolen my legs, a painful reminder of my vulnerability. For a moment, I considered ending it all, of simply giving up and letting the darkness consume me. The thought was tempting, a release from the pain, the anger, the constant struggle. But then I thought of Emily, of her smug smile, of her unwavering belief that she had won. And a surge of defiance coursed through me. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. I wouldn't let her win. I reached into the backseat and pulled out a small, worn teddy bear, a relic from my childhood. I clutched it tightly, the soft fur a small comfort in the overwhelming despair. As I held the bear, I saw something glinting beneath it. It was a small digital voice recorder, a device I had used to record my therapy sessions. An idea sparked in my mind, a plan so audacious, so risky, that it made my heart pound with a mixture of fear and excitement. I would use their words against them. I would record their confessions, their lies, their betrayals, and expose them to the world. I would turn their carefully constructed facade into a pile of rubble. The next morning, I emerged from my room, a new sense of purpose hardening my gaze. I informed Emily that I was feeling better, that I was ready to re-engage with the world. She greeted my announcement with cautious optimism, her eyes searching mine for any sign of deception. I smiled, a genuine smile this time, not the forced, hollow expression I had been wearing for weeks. "I'm ready, Emily," I said, my voice steady and confident. "I'm ready to move on." From that moment on, I became a double agent, a master of deception, a wolf in sheep's clothing. I showered Emily with praise, lavishing her with compliments, reinforcing her belief that she had broken me. I became her confidant, her trusted advisor, patiently listening to her complaints, her anxieties, her darkest secrets. And all the while, I was recording everything. Every word, every inflection, every subtle gesture that revealed her true nature. I transformed my wheelchair into a mobile surveillance unit, concealing tiny cameras and microphones within its frame, capturing every moment, every interaction. I spent hours poring over legal documents, researching laws regarding defamation, slander, and invasion of privacy, ensuring that my plan was foolproof. I knew that I was walking a dangerous path, that one wrong move could expose me and ruin everything. But the thought of Emily and Charles getting away with their betrayal was unbearable. I would stop at nothing to bring them down. They thought they had silenced me, that they had broken me beyond repair. But they were wrong. They had merely awakened a sleeping giant. I became a shadow, a ghost in their meticulously crafted world. Every smile I offered Emily was a calculated move, every word a carefully placed brick in the wall I was building around them. They saw a broken woman, grateful for their pity. What they didn't see was the intricate web I was weaving, the trap slowly tightening around their ankles. The tiny cameras, hidden within the frame of my wheelchair, were my eyes, recording every stolen glance, every whispered conversation, every incriminating detail. The microphone, disguised as a medical device, captured their voices, their lies, their carefully constructed facade. It was a dangerous game, a high-stakes gamble, but the thought of exposing them, of watching their perfect world crumble, fueled my resolve. The wedding preparations continued, a whirlwind of activity that masked the storm brewing beneath the surface. Emily, increasingly frantic, leaned on me more and more, confiding in me her anxieties, her doubts, her secret fears. I listened patiently, offering words of encouragement, all the while carefully guiding the conversation, leading her down the path I had laid out. She confessed her insecurities about Charles, her fear that he would eventually tire of her resentment towards me for stealing the spotlight, even in my broken state. Each confession was a victory, a piece of ammunition in my arsenal. One afternoon, while helping Emily sort through wedding gifts, I overheard a phone conversation that sent a jolt of electricity through my veins. She was talking to Charles, her voice hushed, conspiratorial. "Did you take care of it?" she asked, her tone sharp. "Is it gone?" There was a pause, then Charles's voice, low and reassuring. "Yes, darling, it's done. You don't have to worry about it anymore." My heart pounded in my chest. What were they talking about? What had they done? I strained to hear more, but Emily lowered her voice, moving to another room. My mind raced, piecing together fragments of information, searching for a connection. And then it hit me. A few weeks earlier, I had discovered a hidden file on Charles's computer, containing compromising photographs of him and another woman. I had confronted him about it, but he had dismissed it as a youthful indiscretion, a harmless fling from his past. I had wanted to tell Emily, but she was so stressed with the wedding plans that I didn't want to upset her. Now, listening to their cryptic conversation, I realized that they had taken care of the evidence, permanently silencing the woman who could expose their lies. The revelation sent a chill down my spine. These weren't just petty betrayals, these were calculated acts of deception, of manipulation, of covering up a potentially illegal act. I had to find out more. That night, while Emily and Charles were out celebrating their impending nuptials, I snuck into their house. Using my knowledge of Charles's password, gleaned from weeks of careful observation, I accessed his computer, meticulously searching for any trace of the missing woman, any clue that could confirm my suspicions. After hours of searching, I found it, a deleted email, recovered from the depths of the recycle bin, containing a series of messages between Charles and a private investigator. The messages detailed the investigator's efforts to locate the woman, to monitor her movements, to gather information about her life. The final message, sent just days before their wedding, contained a single chilling sentence: "The problem has been resolved." I copied the email onto a flash drive, along with all the other incriminating evidence I had gathered. My plan was taking shape, the pieces falling into place with terrifying precision. I consulted with a lawyer, a trusted friend who understood the complexities of the legal system. I showed her the evidence I had gathered, the recordings, the emails, the photographs, and asked for her advice. She was horrified by what she saw, but impressed by my meticulous planning. "This is a strong case, Olivia," she said, her voice grave. "But it's also incredibly risky. If they find out what you're doing, they could destroy you." I knew the risks, but I was willing to take them. I had come too far to turn back now. The lawyer helped me navigate the legal complexities, advising me on how to present the evidence, how to protect myself from retaliation, how to ensure that my revenge was both effective and legal. I spent countless hours preparing my case, refining my strategy, anticipating their every move. I knew that they would fight back, that they wouldn't go down without a struggle. But I was ready for them. I had spent weeks studying their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities, their deepest fears. I knew how to exploit them, how to turn them against each other, how to destroy them from the inside out. The wedding day was fast approaching, the clock ticking down to the moment of reckoning. I could feel the tension building, the anticipation growing with each passing day. Emily and Charles were oblivious, confident in their impending triumph, unaware of the storm that was about to break. They thought they had won. They thought they had silenced me, but they were about to learn that revenge is a dish best served cold. The final days leading up to the wedding were a blur of activity. Emily, consumed by last-minute preparations, became increasingly reliant on me, her anxiety reaching a fever pitch. I used her vulnerability to my advantage, subtly steering conversations, planting seeds of doubt, and reinforcing her insecurities. I knew that her greatest fear was losing Charles, that beneath her confident facade lay a deep-seated insecurity about her own worth. I played on that fear, whispering suggestions, fueling her paranoia, slowly but surely driving a wedge between her and her fiancé. One evening, as we were addressing invitations, I casually mentioned Charles's upcoming bachelor party, feigning concern. I just hope he doesn't do anything he'll regret, I said, my voice laced with false innocence. You know how men can be when they're with their friends. Emily's eyes narrowed, her grip tightening on the pen in her hand. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I shrugged, pretending to dismiss the thought. Oh, nothing, I said. I just heard some rumors, that's all. Probably nothing to worry about. I watched as the seed of doubt took root in her mind, her imagination running wild with possibilities. I knew that she would confront Charles, that their conversation would escalate into an argument, and that their carefully constructed facade would begin to crack. The day before the wedding, Emily asked me to be her maid of honor. It was a calculated move, a final attempt to control me, to ensure my loyalty. I accepted her offer with a gracious smile, knowing that it would give me the perfect vantage point to execute my plan. As she busied herself with last-minute details, I noticed her distracted demeanor, her eyes darting nervously around the room. I knew that the rumors I had planted had taken their toll, that she was consumed by doubt and suspicion. I seized the opportunity to further erode her trust in Charles. You know, I said, my voice low and conspiratorial, I saw Charles talking to that woman again yesterday, the one from his office. Emily's face paled. What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling. I don't want to alarm you, I said, feigning reluctance, but they seemed awfully friendly. He was holding her hand and they were laughing together. I just thought you should know. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I knew it, she whispered. I knew he was still seeing her. I placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, pretending to offer support. Don't jump to conclusions, I said. Maybe it's nothing, but I thought you deserved to know the truth. I watched as she excused herself, rushing off to confront Charles, her world crumbling around her. That night I received a frantic phone call from Emily. She was sobbing uncontrollably, her words slurred and incoherent. He denied it, she cried. He said I was being paranoid, but I know he's lying. I listened patiently, offering words of sympathy, all the while subtly guiding the conversation, reinforcing her doubts and suspicions. You deserve better, Emily, I said. You deserve someone who will love you and respect you, someone who will never lie to you or betray you. I could feel her breaking, her resolve weakening with each passing moment. I knew that she was on the verge of calling off the wedding, of shattering their perfect facade. But I needed to push her just a little bit further. I know this is a difficult decision, I said, but you have to do what's right for you. You have to think about your own happiness. I paused, letting my words sink in. And if that means walking away from Charles, then so be it. Emily fell silent, her breathing ragged. I could feel her internal struggle, the conflict between her desire for happiness and her fear of being alone. I waited patiently, knowing that the next few moments would determine the fate of my revenge. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely audible. What should I do, Olivia? She asked. I don't know what to do. I smiled, a cold, calculating smile that no one could see. I know what you should do, Emily, I said. I know exactly what you should do. I instructed her to meet me at my house first thing in the morning. I told her I had something to show her, something that would change everything. Something that would expose Charles for the liar and deceiver that he truly was. I left her hanging, dangling on the precipice of a decision that would alter the course of her life forever. The trap was set. The bait was laid. And Emily was about to walk right into it. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear, the sky a brilliant blue, the air crisp and cool. It was a perfect day for a wedding, a perfect day for a celebration. But for Emily and Charles, it was a day of reckoning, a day of judgment. Emily arrived at my house, her eyes red and swollen, her face pale and drawn. She looked like a ghost of her former self, a shadow of the confident, self-assured woman I had once known. I greeted her with a warm embrace, leading her inside, offering her a cup of tea. She sat down heavily on the sofa, her body slumped, her spirit broken. What is it, Olivia? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. What do you have to show me? I smiled, reaching for the flash drive I had prepared. I have the truth, Emily, I said. I have the evidence that will expose Charles for who he really is. I plugged the flash drive into my computer, projecting the contents onto the large screen in my living room. Images flickered to life, revealing the compromising photographs of Charles and the other woman, the deleted emails between Charles and the private investigator, the recordings of their incriminating conversations. Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, her eyes widening in disbelief. She watched in horror as the evidence unfolded, each revelation more damning than the last. By the time the presentation was over, she was a shattered mess, her tears flowing freely, her body trembling uncontrollably. "I can't believe it," she sobbed. "I can't believe he would do this to me." I knelt beside her, placing a comforting arm around her shoulders. "I'm so sorry, Emily," I said. "I know this is hard to hear, but you deserve to know the truth." I paused, letting my words sink in. "And now that you know, you have a choice to make." I pointed to the screen, to the images of Charles's betrayal, to the evidence of his lies. "You can go through with the wedding, pretending that nothing has happened, living a lie for the rest of your life." I paused again, letting the weight of my words settle upon her. "Or you can walk away, exposing him for who he really is, and start a new life, free from his deceit." Emily stared at the screen, her mind racing, her heart pounding. The weight of her decision was crushing, the stakes impossibly high. I watched her closely, knowing that the next few moments would determine the fate of my revenge. Would she choose to stay, to forgive, to live a lie? Or would she choose to leave, to expose, to embrace the truth? The answer, it turned out, would be far more explosive than I could have ever imagined. The decision hung in the air, thick and heavy like the scent of impending rain. Emily finally looked up, her eyes filled with a newfound resolve. "I can't do it," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "I can't marry him, not after this." A wave of relief washed over me, mixed with a surge of adrenaline. The plan was working. "What are you going to do?" I asked, feigning concern. "I'm going to expose him," she said, her voice gaining strength. "I'm going to tell everyone what he's done." I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. "I'll help you," I said. "You don't have to do this alone." And with that, the final act of my revenge began. We drove to the wedding venue together, Emily clutching the flash drive like a lifeline. The air inside the hall was thick with anticipation, the guests buzzing with excitement. Charles stood at the altar, beaming with confidence, completely oblivious to the storm that was about to break. Emily took a deep breath, her face pale but determined. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I need to tell everyone." I nodded, giving her a gentle push towards the aisle. "You can do this," I said. "Just tell the truth." Emily walked down the aisle, her steps faltering at first, but growing stronger with each stride. The music swelled, the guests turned to watch, and Charles's smile widened as he saw his bride approaching. But as Emily reached the altar, her expression hardened, her eyes blazing with anger. She stopped in front of Charles, her body trembling, her voice shaking as she spoke. "I can't marry you, Charles," she said, her voice echoing through the silent hall. "I know what you've done." Charles's face paled, his eyes widening in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" he stammered. Emily ignored him, turning to face the assembled guests. "Charles is a liar," she said, her voice ringing with conviction. "He's a cheat, he's been lying to all of us." A gasp rippled through the crowd, heads turning, whispers spreading like wildfire. Charles stepped forward, grabbing Emily's arm, his grip tight and painful. "Stop it, Emily," he hissed. "You're embarrassing yourself." Emily wrenched her arm away, her eyes flashing with anger. "I'm not embarrassing myself," she said. "I'm exposing you." She pulled the flash drive from her purse, holding it up for everyone to see. "I have proof," she said. "Proof of his lies, his betrayals, his crimes." Charles lunged for the flash drive, but I stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "Don't even think about it," I said, my voice cold and hard. "It's over, Charles." Emily plugged the flash drive into the venue's sound system, projecting the contents onto a large screen behind the altar. The images flickered to life, revealing the compromising photographs, the deleted emails, the incriminating recordings. The guests gasped, their faces a mixture of shock, disbelief, and disgust. Charles stood frozen, his face crumbling, his world collapsing around him. The color drained from his face as he watched his carefully constructed life shatter before his eyes. The police arrived shortly after, alerted by an anonymous call, "Mine." Charles was taken into custody, facing a barrage of charges that could keep him away for a long time. Emily's family, initially stunned, rallied around her, offering their support and love. The wedding was off, the reputation ruined, the future uncertain. The fallout was swift and brutal. Charles lost everything: his job, his friends, his family, his freedom. Emily, though shaken, emerged stronger than ever, finally free from his web of deceit. As for me, I watched it all unfold with a sense of quiet satisfaction. The years of planning, the months of manipulation, the weeks of gathering evidence, it had all been worth it. I had exposed their lies, shattered their perfect world, and exacted my revenge. They thought they could betray me, use me, and discard me. They thought I was weak and powerless. But they were wrong. I was stronger than they ever imagined. I had turned their own darkness against them, using their arrogance and greed to bring about their downfall. They had lost everything, and I just smiled. In the aftermath, people asked me if I felt guilty, if I regretted what I had done. But I didn't. I felt nothing but a sense of cold, hard justice. They had crossed a line and they had paid the price. Revenge isn't sweet. It's necessary. It's a way of restoring balance, of righting wrongs, of reclaiming your power. And in this case, it was the only way to ensure that they would never hurt anyone again. Would you have done the same? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe for more justice.